Okay, I am shooting in the natural profile. I am at 30 frames per second in 1080p. I'm presently at an let's turn that, I'm at f3.4, 1/60th shutter. I'm at 0 decibel gain. My ND filter is at 1/4, and I am about 2 stops overexposed. So I'm at f3. Well, let's go. There's 3.7, and I am 2 stops overexposed. Next is f4, and I am about 1 3/4 overexposed. All settings are the same. I'm just adjusting the aperture. f4.4 has me at about 1 stop overexposed. f4.8 has me about 3/4 of a stop overexposed. f5.2 has me at a good exposure. So right there, that would be a well-exposed shot according to the camera. So let's continue. f5.6 has me 1/4 underexposed. f6.2 has me 3/4 underexposed. f6.7 has me 1 1/4 stops underexposed. Let's see where we go. f7.3 has me 2 stops underexposed. So there's that. So let me go to a 1/16th ND filter. That immediately puts me at 1 1/4 steps underexposed. And I would, if I wanted to increase my exposure, I would have to start cranking gain. So 1 dB of gain. Let's do this. So no dB of gain has me 1 1/4 stops underexposed. 1 dB of gain puts me at 1 stop underexposed. 2 dB of gain puts me at 3/4 of a stop underexposed. 3 dB of gain puts me about 1/4 of a stop underexposed. So I would imagine 4 is going to get me right around even exposure or a little over. There's 4, and that's I'm not seeing a difference between 3 and 4 dB of gain. Let's go to 5. 5 puts me at good exposure. Yeah. So right there it's telling me I have good exposure on the camera. So there's 6 dB of gain. And again, I'm at aperture of 3.4. And 7 dB of gain puts me about 3/4 of a stop overexposed. So let's go back to 5. And let's do f4. Puts me at about 3/4 of a stop underexposed. So then I probably could go to or 7 dB a gain. Yep, 7 dB a gain at f4 gives me even exposure. f4.4 puts me a quarter stop under. f4.8 puts me 3/4. So I probably can go up to 8 dB a gain. It gives me just under 9 dB. Keeps me at a quarter under. 10 dB puts me a good exposure. So at f4.8 at 1/60th shutter, I have 10 dB a gain to give me a good exposure. And again, my ND filter is at 1/16th. Alright, so I am shooting at 1080p, 30 frames per second, 1/60th shutter. I have an aperture set at f2.8. I have 0 decibel gain, and my ND filter is set at 1/16th. We are going to increase our gain until we get to a good exposure. Right now, I am about 1.5 stops below good exposure, according to our exposure meter on the camera. 1 dB a gain puts us at 1.25 stops below. 2 dB puts us at 1 stop below. 3 dB puts us at about 3/4 of a stop below. 4 dB puts us at about a quarter stop below. And then there, 5 dB has us still, we're just a little below. Let me go to 6. 6 dB puts us at good exposure. So right now, our settings are f2.8, 1/60th shutter, 6 decibel a gain, ND filter set at 1/16th. Let me reset everything and go to, so I'm going to go to 0 dB a gain. Let's go to f3.2. And now we are at f3.2, 0 decibel a gain, ND filter set at 1/16th. We are 2 stops below exposure, good exposure. 1 decibel puts us at about 1 3/4 stops. 2 decibel puts us about 1.5. 3 decibel a gain puts us at 1 stop below good exposure. 4 decibel puts us about 3/4 of a stop. 5 dB puts us about a quarter stop. 6 dB puts us at, nope. 6 dB is going to put us at good exposure. So let's switch back from f3.2 to f2.8 so we can look at that. So this is 3.2. This is f2.8. Everything else is the same. 6 decibel a gain, ND filter at 1/16th. And we're getting good exposure at both. So f3.2 right there. f2.8. Our exposure is good to go. Let's go up another stop on the aperture to 3.4. The minute I hit 3.4, I drop to a quarter stop below good exposure. So let's see. 7 dB keeps me right where I was at 6 dB in regards to exposure. 8 dB gives me good exposure on the exposure meter on the camera. So let's go to 3.7. Alright, I drop another quarter stop below. So let's go to 9. 9 dB again gets me good exposure. F4. Alright, at F4, I have good exposure at 10 dB a gain. So 3.7. Oh, no, it's telling me I'm a little below. Let me try 11 dB. 11 dB a gain at f4 gives me good exposure. Let's try f4.4. That again drops me a quarter stop below good exposure. Let's take our gain up to f12 or 12 dB. That gives us good exposure. Let's go f4.8. That drops us a little bit below a quarter, to almost a half of a stop below good exposure. So let's see what 13 dB does. 13 dB puts us at about a quarter stop below good exposure. And 14 will get us right there. Alright, so we're on it there. F5.2 has us about a quarter stop below good exposure. Let's see what 15 dB does. 15 gives us good exposure. F5.6 again puts us a quarter stop below good exposure. So let's see what 16 dB does. 16 puts us at good exposure. Let's go up again on our aperture to f6.2. That does the same thing, about a quarter stop. And 18 dB gives us our good exposure. .7 from 6.2 puts us at almost 3/4 of a stop below good exposure. So there's a big jump there. I don't know if going up 1 dB a gain is going to get us to even exposure, and it doesn't. It puts us at a quarter stop below good exposure. Let's go to 20 dB. 20 dB at f6.7 gives us good exposure. Let's go up a little bit more. f7.3 puts us about a quarter again. 21 dB gives us good exposure. Let's go up another stop or two on our aperture. f8. This is what I normally shoot at. I like the way f8 looks on this camera. So let's go. We are about 3/4 of a stop below good exposure. I'm probably going to have to go up to about 23 dB. Let's go to 22 first. 22 puts us a quarter stop below good exposure, and 23 nails it. So right here at f8 on our aperture, we are at 1/60th shutter. Again, shooting 1080p at 30 frames per second. We have an ND filter of 1/16th. We have good exposure set right there. When we have 23 decibel a gain. F8, 23 dB. Alright, so let's reset everything back. If I am at 1/4 ND filter, I am almost 2 stops above good exposure. So in this case, my aperture would be what I'm going to bump up. So let's just see how our aperture affects our exposure. At f2.8, again, we are at, let's see, 1 3/4 stops above good exposure. f3.2 has us 1.5. 3.4 puts us at 1 stop above good exposure. 3.7 puts us at 3/4 of a stop above. F4 puts us at a quarter stop above. F4.4 puts us at a quarter stop below. So there we go. 4, I can get it right there with 4. 4 falls right in at good exposure right there. Let me down. Let's go to the 1/16 again. If I go to f2.8 and hit 6 dB of gain, I can get good exposure there. So I'm outside and my conditions are changing as we speak. I mean, the sun is moving as I'm shooting. So what I'm looking at here is I got good exposure right there. So if I was out here and I was shooting this shot, that probably would be where I would want to be if I was shooting at 30 frames per second. f2.8, 6 dB of gain. So, alright, let's go take a look at the footage.